trying to kill us. They trying to starve us to death. I just got some bad news, y'all. The U.S. just voted against food as a human right. They out here preaching freedom and democracy while telling the world that basic survival is optional. What the fuck is really going on? Nah, that's not right. And you can't call yourself the land of the free if you out here denying people food. Where they do that at? Like, y'all have money for bombs and billionaires and fucking bailouts, but not for basic dignity? I'm not understanding. This system is starving.
I mean, the US is not voting against food as a basic human right. They're just saying that, hey, we can't subsidize all this food, we can't pay all this money, and you're gonna have to put in a little bit more work if you want to afford your food.
Families relying on federal assistance to put food on the table use SNAP benefits. Now, only certain stores are SNAP certified, and we learned today that certification is soon going to be tougher to get. Our political reporter Chris Ty here with that effort to try to make Americans healthier, but by doing that, it could make things a lot more difficult for those people who are relying on, say, their corner store to do their shopping.
Yeah, that's a lot of people here in the Chicagoland area, Marie. Word came down today from the USDA. Basically, if you sell food and are able to use the SNAP program as a vendor, you need to start selling a lot more healthy food to remain viable, to make sure that you have produce and things that people can sell and eat and keep healthy.
Right.
That only sells a sliver of healthy products. Those that do that say they're nervous they might lose SNAP customers, which make up a huge percentage of their business. The corner store.
Okay.
Gracias, señorita.
We've all been here, where the only apple is paired with Jack's, the cake mix has the only lemon in the house, and the strawberry is swirling through the Slurpee machine. There's a handful of avocados, an onion or two, and a single bundle of bananas. But it's ramen and Ruffles, not radishes and raisins, at this one in Little Village.
This corner store has been here for 30 years.
And for 30 years, Balthazar Enriquez, who is friends with the owners, has used it in a pinch for milk and eggs and diapers.
Real quick, y'all, let's cut in. Let's address that first clip for a second, because I'm still sitting here pondering it, where she said that they basically took back the idea of food as a human right. And see, this is how ignorance is spread. Really think about that. She's so emotional that she's completely gotten away from the facts, and she's just emotionally spewing disingenuous information. She's being disingenuous with her information, because if she was vetting it clearly, she would understand that nobody said that food is not a human right. They're just regulating funds. You think people still not going to get food stamps? They're regulating it to make sure that it's going to those who actually need it. And so that so many people aren't fraudulently misusing it. And speaking of that, that's kind of going to be the theme of today's video, because something crazy came down where apparently they found almost 200,000 people who were receiving benefits aren't even alive anymore. And this is recent news. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it, y'all. Before we do, if you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know. And also, if you could hype.
How could this be? 186,000 deceased individuals still receive SNAP benefits. How could this be? 186,000.
You're going to want to listen to what JD Vance has to say in this clip. Listen up.
Book has found out that we've got 355,000 people on SNAP benefits receiving double benefits. That we've got 186,000 dead people getting SNAP benefits.
Hold on. What are you saying that first one?
You're going to want to listen to what JD Vance has to say in this clip. Listen up.
Book has found out that we've got 355,000 people on SNAP benefits receiving double benefits.
Almost 400,000 people receiving double benefits. But nobody ever talks about these segments misusing it. And understand, you can't catch everything. So this is only what has been proven and what we have found. There's still, I'm sure, a large segment of people who have slipped under the radar. But let's go ahead and hear the whole thing.
We've got 186,000 dead people getting SNAP benefits. People. 186,000 dead Americans getting food stamps right now. Now, I know the fake news media is going to say that the big headline from this speech is JD Vance proposes that we take away food stamps. That's what they're going to say.
And you know they most likely are going to do that. But according to
Real quick, they're going to do what that first woman did at the beginning. They say that it's not a human right anymore to eat. Is that really? We've gotten that far away from the facts. It's clear what he said. He couldn't have articulated it any further. He literally listed off the numbers and just the stats. And somebody like he just said is going to misuse and misinterpret what he said and then try to market that. And nope, they're not going to be held accountable for just blatantly and egregiously misrepresenting facts. And I'm tired of this. We got to start being real. We got to start calling things like we see it.
the Trump administration and USDA investigators, they say they found hundreds of thousands of duplicate SNAP cases, deceased individuals still in the system, and thousands of benefit recipients tied to luxury vehicles. And this is why JD Vance says they launched the anti-fraud crackdown to begin with. In my opinion, there is nothing wrong with us looking into this, and there is nothing wrong with JD Vance and this administration wanting to do something about it. Make it make sense, people. Have a great night, Patriots.
I'm literally not asking for help. I'm literally not asking for a job. I just want my benefits back. I don't feel the need to pay for food. I have food stamps since 2016. Yes, taxpayers. So, you trying to take it away now? I don't think so.
But you are asking for help.
She meant to say she's had food stamps since 2016, not till 2016.
You're asking for your food stamps. You're asking for help. Maybe you should help yourself. Go learn a skill. Go get in a trade. Stop leeching off the system. If this is like generational shit, this is shit that you've been taught. This is what you've observed. And now you're probably going to teach your kids. And that's sad. But you should probably teach them to go get into a trade. Go do something with their life. And don't expect somebody just to come bail you out all the time. Sad state of affairs in America.
Let me ask y'all a question. Is it segregation if I only want to be around reasonable people who are like thinking reasonably and rationally? Is that me segregating? Because I feel like that's kind of how it's getting to. Because it's like she's of the same tribe as that first woman we watched Food as a Human Right. He said that. Like they're the same type of people. And then me and this guy are probably like the same type of people. Right? Where we can just see things for what they are. And we're not being illogical, irrational. I said a bowl. Emotional about things, right? And we just want things to work the way that they're supposed to work. Is that a bad thing? Because people like this scare me. It's people out here not thinking right? You know what I'm saying? Left is right and up is down. And we all have to like be around each other, but you say the wrong thing or you don't agree with something and they're liable to act a fool. And you can't have a reasonable conversation with them. So what I try to do is I just try to steer clear of them, and I try to go into environments where I know there is not a high likelihood of encountering people who can't be rational, be reasonable. Is that bad? Because there's so many people like that. And so what I found, I'm not going to just go along to get along. If people are saying something crazy, no, like that doesn't make sense. But that's dangerous today because there's people with nothing to lose. And so I think more so what I'm saying is I only try to go around people who got something to lose. I don't want to be around people who don't got nothing to lose because that's just a recipe for disaster. And I feel like a lot of people will be wise to do the same.
So a lot of people are under the false assumption that in order to get government assistance, people are not working. Well, no, a lot of people on government assistance are working, and that's the problem, right? So let's break down what I was making last year when SNAP told me I made too much for assistance. So these are my expenses as a single mom living in Decatur, Georgia, making $14 an hour with twin 3-year-olds. Okay, so let's break down what that looks like. 24.27 is what the take home would be, and this is without tax. With my rent, $15.60, that leaves me with $867 at the end of a month. So now we got to take out the Affordable Care Act health insurance. That shit was not affordable. $517 now is where we are. So next, we're going to take out $250 for childcare that is assisted by the state of Georgia caps. Without caps, it would be minus $1,000. Okay, so now let's take out $150 for Georgia Power and another $100 for Gas South. That leaves me with a hot $17 at the end of the month, right? Renter's insurance isn't optional. So now I'm at negative $3. And while we're at it, we might as well throw in car insurance, right? And let's do internet because I work from home. So now we're negative $253 and we haven't even gotten to food yet. Car money, right? So we need money for gas. Right, so now we're at negative $378 before we've even spent anything on food. Food at $125 a week costs me about $500 a month. This is what George's SNAP was saying. Well, I make too much to get the extra $500 to only be in the negative $378. So this is just a quick breakdown of what that looks like. And I need you to understand a lot of people are working. They're not getting paid enough. That is the problem. It's not them needing assistance. It's the companies are not paying people to live. Fuck that shit.
Well, she brings up some good points, but I guess my main point and my main question, right? I don't even think I have a point in this. I think my question is, was they not paying enough before you had kids? That's really my question. Was they not paying enough before you had kids? I'm guessing it was kind of recent, right? So, I mean, the only thing that I can say is, who told you to have kids? I didn't see you factor in another man's income, which would be the main income. I think that would be very feasible. It sounds like she's doing pretty good income and she works at home. Why do you need a babysitter if you work at home? I don't know. Why you need childcare if you work from home? I don't know. But if you add, I mean, her income is clearly darn near doing it. So if you actually add somebody into the equation who is supposed to provide and who was meant and built to provide, I think this works just the way that it's supposed to. And you're in an excess. So, 2 questions. Who told you to have kids? And then who told you to have kids and not stay and be single and do it? Those are the questions, because you're opening up all your finances. You're telling us everything. You're being very transparent. I want to hear the transparency about that as well. Honestly, if you're going to come on here and do this so that we can have the full picture and then we can have the discussion.
Okay, guys, so here's an update of my food stamp card. So I have not even slept all day. I have not slept. I got up at 7:30 and I made sure that my son went to school and stuff like that. And I stayed up until 8 o'clock. I was on my way to the food stamp office and my sister was calling the food stamp people while I was driving to the food stamp office. So she basically gave me the number to call them when I got there, because the food stamp office here said they closed at 8, but they really didn't close. They didn't really open until 9. So I was sitting out there in the parking lot for an hour. So I literally called them and I told them what was going on and everything else above. And I called them and I said, hey, I need to cancel my card. I need to cancel my card. I need to cancel my account. And she was like, yes, ma'am, we're going to cancel your whole account. I said, have they used my card? Anything? She said, no, they have not used your card. I said, thank God. Okay. She said, all your money is still on there. She said, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel the card that they issued out to your address. I'm going to cancel that card and I'm going to cancel your whole entire account. So that way they're not able to do anything, nothing. And I said, okay. So she did that.
Okay, she's on food stamps and she's clearly young, right? She's clearly young. So she fits the description of the fraud and the egregious and malicious misuse of these funds that we talk about sometimes. She just fits the description. We don't have any other context. However, she fits the description. I would have to think that she seems able-bodied. She's standing up in her video. I would have to think that her not working may be a choice. And it may even be a choice of how she chooses to present herself. Because I'm going to be honest. What are these? These little cheek piercings. What are those? Like, everything was just fine until we got there. And now we've added some friction. We've added some contention, some difficulty. And I would think that it wouldn't be super easy to find a job with those in your face. Maybe you can take them out, but when you actually go. But that's the first thing that flags to me. But ultimately, she seems young. Why do you need benefits? Is the question. Why are you taking up space on these programs and making it harder for someone else to be able to get their share of that? I don't think we really need to hear it. Sounds like her stuff just got stolen.
So Donald Trump is starving people now? You miss a lot when you go away for a few days. So apparently millions might lose their SNAP benefits. There's roughly 42 million Americans on SNAP benefits. So an age requirement changed. So previously, anyone who was between 18 and 55 had to work to get benefits. And now anyone between 18 and 64 has to work to get the benefits. So let's talk about the requirements. You need to, if you're between 18 and 64, if you're an able-bodied individual, you need to work, go to school, do some volunteer work, or some sort of job training.
Job training, that's it.
Keep your benefits. 80 hours a month, which averages out to about...
Listen, man. No, don't say 4 hours. 4 days, 4 hours. Oh, yeah, 4 hours a day. There we go. Keep in mind, during business days, Monday through Friday, 4 hours a day. And notice she said the job training. It is 2026. You can do that online. And it's training you and it's getting you skills. Shouldn't that be what you want? Is that the goal? Are you wanting to do better for your life? Inquiring minds want to know. And you notice what she said at the beginning too. Another person taking it and running with it. He's starving people. He's trying to starve people by regulating benefits. And the only regulation that she brought up is that you dang near got 4 options. If you ask me, those 4 options are productive and they start getting us back to community. Because another thing that you can do, which is frictionless, is you can volunteer. I don't think it will hurt to have more people volunteering, especially if they're already extracting. So wouldn't you want to pay it forward? If you have a program paying it forward to you when you were in need? To me, all these things make sense, but apparently that's called starving somebody. And that's why we have to start actually having the context and verbally saying the facts, because people will just come and just say the wildest things when they know, right? Like, you have to start thinking like, is this manipulative? Is this deceptive? Because you heard everything and clearly you can articulate yourself. So then why did you misrepresent the information like this and come on and speak about it?
4 hours a day. Of course, exemptions exist for the disabled. So check with your local offices for that. Because the USDA has only recently started saying how states should implement new work requirements, they're finding that older adults are having a hard time finding work because of their age.
That's a good point.
Also, parents with children age 14 and up will now have to work to keep their benefits. For state laws vary, but the 80 hours of work per month law is a federal law. So that starts, I believe, June 1st. So you will need to check with that.
Why does she have this superhero Marvel music playing while she is like low energy? I don't understand that. But that's another thing we have to talk about. If your kids are under the age of 14, then you have to work too. So what's something we have to start looking out for? And that I've already kind of been noticing. It's a lot of people who already got a lot of kids and they're deciding to get pregnant because they know that by having that newborn, that can then shield them from the work requirements. And that's crazy. Ain't it? That's crazy. But there's people who will think that that makes sense. And they will do permanent decisions and have kids with no intention of necessarily raising the kids, but surviving with the kids and almost like having the kid for their survival. Isn't that wild? So we got to watch out for it.
Number one reason why people lose their food stamps benefit or get their food stamps severely reduced is not because of fraud. It's not because they lied on their food stamps application. It's not because they bought the wrong thing. The number one reason why your food stamps get cut or you lose it entirely is if you don't report your income. So what happens is that food stamps is need-based. And so depending on where you are, you may have to report or update your income information every 6 months or every year. And in between that, if your income goes up by a certain amount, you also have to report that to the food stamps agency. So if you get a new job or the family or household income situation improves, you also have to report that so that your food stamp benefits are adjusted accordingly, because it's based on your household income, your gross income and your net income. But what happens is some people get a new job, they make more money,
And they
but they don't
report it.
inform the food stamps agency that their income
Happens all
situation
the
or their
time.
household income has increased. And so the government catches up later, months later. And then what happens is that not only are they going to cut your benefit,
You're going to pay
but
it
they
back.
also want to claw back what they've paid you all those months when they should have paid you less. So if you don't want any surprises, if you don't want your food stamps benefits cut, whenever your income situation changes, whether positively or negatively, you need to make sure that you follow the rules, report the income changes to the government.
Yep, and that happens a lot. And I've actually reviewed it. There was some situations where people were owing tens of thousands of dollars because for the longest, they might have had a change in their income and they didn't report it. But this can extend much further than just changes in income. This can extend further as far as just really any fraudulent thing you put on that paperwork that wasn't really true, that could have affected the amount that you would receive. You would have to pay that back. And so it was a lot of people who were getting that letter in the mail from the government, and they done got them a student loan because the government wanted all that money back. I reviewed a situation where it was a woman and she had lost her kids. And she had like 9 kids. But she only had one of the kids still. But she was still acting like all of those kids were still living with her in the house. Like all 9 of them, but she only had one, the newborn. And so she got that letter in the mail, and I think she owed like $60,000 back to the government. And so people play stupid games, and they don't understand that the government has unlimited time to be able to get this money back or to be able to investigate you to get this money back. And then once they ultimately get that information, you're still going to be culpable financially. Like he said, the financial term is called clawback. And that's basically when you can retroactively go and get some money back, right? This can even happen like if you go through a divorce proceeding or something and it's one of the people try to spend the money, and then they can go and claw that back. Even if you give it to a family member, they can go claw that back from your family member. And so that's what was happening. And as well as the fact that they can claw it back. And we're not even talking about federal implications because you committed fraud, which is a white collar crime. And white collar crimes are felonies, if you didn't know, typically when we're talking about those type of numbers. And guess what? You're going to be in federal prison with all those other violent people, and you just committed a financial crime. So think wisely before you do certain things.
I'm ABC7's John Garcia at the Northern Illinois Food Bank in Geneva. Starting today, about 150,000 people in Illinois are losing their SNAP benefits, which makes it a whole lot more difficult for many of them to feed their families. People like the Northern Illinois Food Bank are stepping up to try to help them with that task, but they say it's not going to be easy.
So the media are trying to convince you that Donald Trump is starving people to death. No, really. They're mad because several million people might lose their food stamp benefits come June 1st because the federal rules around the SNAP program have been changing. And they want you to think that Republicans are stealing food from poor, helpless, hungry people. Except that's not at all true. Here's why. New federal rules require that able-bodied adults between the ages of 18 and 64 who don't have children under the age of 14 at home must work, volunteer, or participate in some sort of training or education program at least 80 hours a month in order to qualify for food stamps. That's just 4 hours a day. You could have a part-time job, you can go to school, you can volunteer at a soup kitchen, but you have to do something to earn the support that you're getting from taxpayers who have to go to work to pay your grocery bill. That's it. And it doesn't apply to the handicapped, to seniors, or to anyone with very young children at home. We're talking about able-bodied grown adults who have no excuse whatsoever not to do something. That's a bare minimum requirement. And yet leftists are still mad about it. Here's why. Because they want people hooked on the government dole. They want people stripped of their dignity and unable to do anything for themselves, because that's how they convince people to vote for them. If you require free stuff, then you'll vote for anyone who promises it to you. And if you make your own money, you don't like people taking it from you. Donald Trump is not starving people. They're mad because Donald Trump is messing with the Democrats' political system.
Let's touch on this real quick because they said something really important, which is they reiterated the fact that your kids have to be 14. If your kids are 14 and up, then you are required to be undergoing the work restrictions, right? I'm going to be honest. I feel like that's still generous. Because you still have the option of the work program as well as volunteering. And I'm going to be honest. If you've got some kids, man, 8 years old, they can walk around, they can move around, they can come with you to volunteer. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure the nonprofit or whoever you choose to volunteer for would be happy to have some more hands on deck. Or maybe you can even volunteer at a place that serves children and then they'll fit right in. But yeah, I actually think that's still generous. And people should be grateful that that's put in place, because that still protects a lot of people. And I think 14 is still a little too old. Like you have all these options. You need to do one of them, because you can bring your kids if it's really that deep.
On day one, when I was sworn in, which was earlier this year in February, the very first thing I did was send letters to every single state in America and said, never before has the federal government asked for the data, but it is a new day. President Trump is the president.
The caption, she's reiterating about the 186,000 SNAP recipients who are deceased, who are listed as still receiving SNAP benefits.
We know there's a lot of fraud. We need to help partner with you all to figure out how to make sure that this money and these benefits go to those who truly need it and not rife with fraud and corruption. 29 states, mostly the red states, responded with their data sets February, March, April. So the numbers that you're talking through, those are numbers that we have been collecting and analyzing since early summer, late spring. The fact that this spotlight shined on SNAP has allowed us to talk about it. But here's the most unbelievable news I have really just over the last few days, that 5,000 dead people, that was just 1 month. The number is closer to 186,000 150,000 deceased men and women and children in this country are receiving a check. Now, that is what we're really going to start clamping down on. 500,000 are getting 2. But here's the really stunning thing. This is just data from those 29 mostly red states. Can you imagine when we get our hands on the blue state data, what we're going to find? It's going to give us a platform and a trajectory to fundamentally rebuild this program, have everyone reapply for their benefit, make sure that everyone that's taking a taxpayer-funded benefit through SNAP or food stamps, that they literally are vulnerable and they can't survive without it. And that's the next step here.
So really put this in a perspective, y'all. This is data that of those people, it's conservative because this is data from red states, which already are notoriously not necessarily in the favor of benefits. So you know that there's not going to be as much fraud because they're going to make sure that they clamp down on it and make sure that things are at least in compliance. You can't catch everything, but this is what went through in red states. So this is what I said. I said there's still a way more numbers out there. And when you consider that it's in blue states and they still are, it seems like, fighting to give up the data, because why haven't we gotten that data yet? It can only be two things. One, they're holding it and they're not being compliant. And by compliant, I mean they're not willingly giving it up. Or two, are they taking more time so that they can maybe alter some things, maybe cover some things? Inquiring minds want to know, and we have to find that out. But they're going to follow the money. And if this is only factoring red states, then that's very scary. And we're going to have to keep our eye out because it could be some very astonishing news coming very soon. So I will stay on top of it. Y'all, will end it there for today. If you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second and it actually helps out more than you know. And also, if you could hype the video. Hype is a new feature that YouTube offers where it helps smaller content creators like myself. And basically, when you hype, it actually pushes us to the extent that it pushes the larger content creators. So you just press the hype button and it shows the points. And because I am a smaller creator, a smaller channel, we get more points per hype. And hype was designed for smaller channels, so that's why. And also, just so you know, if a video is about 7 days old, it probably won't have the hype button anymore. So usually hypes only can be put on videos within that same week of posting. So just something to let you know. Usually it's best to hype while the iron is hot. And then also Patreon's link below if you want to see self-improvement content as well. But until then, I'll catch you in the next video.